Welcome back to the Filthy Report. My name is Jason Filthy Jones, bringing you the dirtiest information with the cleanest style. UFC Holly Holm versus Irene Aldana. It's in the books. Let's get to it. Now, guys, the first fight I have to talk about would no other be Loma Lookboonmee versus Jinyu Fry. This is a fight that was phenomenal, but it was also very one-sided. Loma kept pushing the pace, making sure that she kept Fry like just continuously on her back foot, keeping her at kicking range, being able to devastate that leg, to devastate her body. And also, she had a Muay Thai plum that was ridiculous, reminding us, like, I would have to say, back when Anderson Silva fought Rich Franklin for the title. She showed that she could push Fry up against the fence, locking her up in a Muay Thai plum and giving her no options of getting out of it. If Fry either tried to bend her head, dip her head, or tried to move out of the way of the elbows that she was throwing in that clinch, or tried to pull out of the clinch, she would load up on those knees and just try to go for the sternum, trying to go for the head, making her move and punishing her for every single time she tried to rush in and throw heavy shots. She gave her no options, continuously pushing the pace from the first to the second round. Yes, it was a one-sided fight because Loma just pretty much put the pace the whole time and made her fight her fight. Fry had no answer and seemed to lose her focus and her control, just having no answer and having no change in her game. And then next to be noticed in the fight would be that Fry tried to push the pace in the third round, trying to take her to the ground, getting her to the ground, not being able to hold her there, was able to get her back, but just wasn't able to do anything with it. And at that point, Loma just closed it out by just continuously hitting her with those elbows. And they were vicious elbows coming from both sides, from the left or the right, mixing it up, coming from underneath, coming from the side, being like just continuously pushing the pace and locking her in that clinch and giving her no other option and taking it with the unanimous decision. The next fight I'm going to have to end up talking about would have to be the Carlos Condit and Court McGee fight. Guys, now, remember in the breakdown, I told you guys that this would be the answer, showing us if Carlos was still able to stay at that high pace level, being at the top of the crop of the 170 division. Now, I wouldn't say Court McGee is a top level fighter, but I would say he would be in the top 15. So with the answers that you see that Carlos brought, is the natural born killer is back, and he is back with vengeance. He's showing you that he has more tricks in his arsenal. He kept the striking going, kept moving the pace, kept pushing the fight, showing that he still had a good amount of cardio, showing that he switched up his game. If you guys haven't noticed, or if you guys haven't paid attention to Carlos or seen that how Carlos Condit usually fights, he is an orthodox fighter. He was fighting off the southpaw stance this whole time and wasn't really switching up his stances too much. He stayed in that left stance, showing that he had new bags of tricks, new strikes from that level, showing that he was really potent with his kicks from that stance, but only switching it up to give off that heavy right hand to basically sit Court down in the first round. So in the second round, Carlos literally kept the same pace, kept the same movement, making sure that Court never really got off an offensive game. Always turning the corner, making sure that when Court tried to move in and move forward, that he would punish him and moving him back. He kept him at the kicking range for a lot of the time and was able to get into a good boxing range. What I have to say right now would be, let's see, Carlos is even saying it himself that he's not really looking at belts right now. He's just trying to get back in the groove, and we'll see if he gets back into the top 10. Where does he go from here? I mean, you're going to give him a higher level top 15 opponent. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing him fight somebody in the 13 or 12 range. And after that, it's off to the races, and let's see what he can do at the top 10. I will say that you guys understand I'm a little bit biased. I always loved Carlos Condit. He's a natural born killer for a reason. But I am happy to see that he's back. I'm happy to see that he's off of that 5 skid streak, and we'll see where he can go with this. Now, guys, Kyler Phillips and Cameron Ellis. This fight was phenomenal. Once again, it was a one-sided fight. To see where Kyler Phillips was going with this, he is a phenomenal fighter. His striking is very technical. His ground game is phenomenal. He's smooth. He has great transitions in his jiu-jitsu game. Cardio for days, very fast pace, doesn't stop moving, keeps you guessing, very unorthodox with his striking. Now, Cameron Ellis is a very high-level skilled fighter. He's been on the regional scene for a minute. It just seemed that he didn't show up in this fight. He wasn't prepared, didn't know how to answer Phillips with his striking or his ground game, and ended up getting TKO'd in the second round with Phillips just literally elbowing his head to the canvas viciously. Phillips is a savage that you guys are going to want to pay attention and watch out for. I see him breaking into the top 10 in the next few months. If he can get another fight on Fight Island and then also rack up a fight in Vegas, or if he can finish off the year in Vegas and then fight one more time of 2021, then I can see him breaking into the top 10 in the summer. And the sky is the limit for this kid. So once again, that's Kyler Phillips. Make sure you pay attention to him. Next fight we're going to move on from there would be the Irene Aldana fight versus Juliana Pena. Now, guys, I have to admit, I told you guys in this breakdown that I didn't see Juliana Pena being able to really strike with Irene Aldana, and I did see this fight kind of playing out like this, but not with this kind of finish. What can I say? Irene Aldana is completely on another level now. She has switched up her game and showed you that she does have a ground game now. The type of guillotine that she pulled off on Juliana Pena, and to know that she pulled it off on Juliana Pena, because if you don't know, Juliana Pena is a very, very high skilled grappler. That is her bread and butter. That is what she goes to. Her striking is subpar, but she was showing that she did have some heavy hands. She rocked Irene very quickly in I want to say the second round was when she kind of rocked Irene and put her up against the fence and just threw those shots. But Juliana just had no answer of trying to get in to get her down to the floor. She couldn't control her on the floor. She kept moving, was able to sprawl out, get up, and the shocker to see Irene Aldana literally take Julia down and submit her in the second round with a guillotine choke. And just to let you guys know, if you guys think that Irene's ground game isn't there, in that first round, she almost literally put out Juliana with that Von Flute choke. And that Von Flute choke is not an easy choke to pull off. It's a very hard choke, especially pull off against a well-grounded ground fighter. I mean, if you guys go and check Juliana's background, she is a submission phenom, and she has a lot of good ground skills, and she has a lot of good power in her submissions and a good squeeze. Now, what I would have to say about Juliana is I think she just kind of rushed herself to a comeback. She was on a 2-year layoff. She had just had a baby, trying to get herself back into fight condition, and took on a little bit more than she could chew. Wasn't ready for a person at that striking level. Didn't really think that the person had didn't think that Irene had a ground game. So I'm hoping Juliana doesn't fall off too far. I hope she can bounce back from this and get another title run in. With Irene, I mean, I think she needs one more test and to see if she can get another crack at Amanda Nunes, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Meaning that we'll pretty much talk about it after I talk about this fight. Now, the main event fight would have to be Holly Holm versus Irene Aldana. And in this fight, all I can say is that Holly Holm literally put on a clinic. She is showing everybody that she is a well-rounded fighter. making sure that Irene was never able to move forward, keeping her out on the kickboxing range. And when she did move forward, Holly would throw a multiple level combo at her head very quickly, pushing her back on the pace and then turning the corner and moving out. And just, that was literally Irene Aldana's downfall. She would, every single time she would try to push the pace on Holly, she would literally not cut the corners or cut the cage off on Holly and would chase after Holly. Now, meaning what I'm saying from that was her downfall was chasing after Holly just kept her running into her punches, running into her kicks, made Holly always control the pace and control the fight, and showing that Holly at 38 still has a lot of speed and a lot of power and is very heavy on her kicks, and now has a complete ground game. If you guys don't know, Holly is formerly a boxing champion and also a kickboxing champion, and never really had that great of a ground game. But to see that Donna had a takedown defense that was second to John Jones, meaning that not many people could take Aldana down, and Holly Holm being a high level striker, not an actual ground game fighter, and was able to, with ease, pull down Aldana with chain wrestling. Now, for you guys to explain this to you guys, chain wrestling is not your typical one shot, I'm gonna either single leg you or double leg you or trip you or do anything to get you to the floor. With chain wrestling, it's I'm going for a single, can't get the single, go for a double, can't go for the double, switch up my rotation, get you on a trip, and take you down to the floor. Seeing that Holly is able to do that, that shows me that she has opened up her bags of tricks, and she is able to compete at a higher level, and she is adapting and learning a lot more. Where Holly should end up and where Jermaine should end up would probably be that they should fight for a number one contendership to see if they can compete with Amanda Nunes, because they both have now shown that they have new tricks in their bag and they might actually be able to handle Amanda this time. Now, to finish up with Irene Aldana, what I think she should do is, maybe my personal opinion would be, take a chance at training at another fight camp. I mean, she seemed to be kind of lost in there with Holly and didn't know how to cut the cage off to give her the opportunity to actually push a pace with her hands. All right, guys, with all that said, let's get into some news that's been breaking out this week. I don't know if you guys have heard, but it looks like that the Kamaru Usman and the Gilbert Burns fight is going to be off and will not be until 2021 early. I think they're talking early 2021. No official reason of why it's not going to be going on, but hey, we will see. We will see. It looks like Leon Edwards has finally answered back, and there's only a few people that are on the list that Leon wants to fight, and I'm going to have to say Wonder Boy is not on that list, and Hazmat is not on that list either. He literally told Wonder Boy he's not interested in the fight, and for Hazmat to go win somebody in the top 25, maybe in the top 15, and maybe he'll think about fighting him. Other than that, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't go over the Israel Adesanya and John Jones incidents. It seems like they've been going back and forth on Twitter, and it's getting very heavy very quickly, and it looks like the fight is going to get made. Israel did not take it funny when Jones brought in his family, and of course Jones did not take it funny when Israel brought in Jones's family. Don't know what to say really about this. It looks like it's getting ugly very quickly. Don't really like it too much. It seems to be like it's getting right back to the point where Conor and Khabib were when they were getting into their little altercations. I don't see it breaking out to being that bad. I just don't like it. I understand it's the fight game and anything pretty much goes, but when you start digging into people's family, that's pretty much a no-no, and it causes a huge hatred. Let's see how it goes. Not looking too forward to that. I really hope that Izzy at least cleans out the division. I don't think it's going to happen. It looks like Dana's really looking at the numbers and seeing how big Israel is as a star, and that the fight's going to get made, and John Jones is going to put a heavyweight on hold. Other than that, let's get into this fight breakdown of Marlon Moraes versus Cody the Sandman Sandhagen. And there's a couple of fights on this card that do have some names on it that could pique your interest. And there's a couple of fights on this card that you might not know the people. But hey, look, the fights have been kind of phenomenal. They're doing some really good matching right now. But I'm only going to break down 3 of the fights on this card. And the first one I'm going to start off is going to be Ben Rothwell versus Marcin Tybura. Where I see with this fight, it's kind of hard for me to go against Ben. Ben has a really good ground game. His striking is really good. He's very heavy-handed. He always pushes the pace, and he's one of those heavyweights that have really good cardio. He normally likes to lock you up against the cage, get heavy-handed, and then take you to the floor and either ground and pound you out, or he will try to get a submission off on you and choke you out and put you asleep. I mean, what I can say about Tybura is a really good fighter. I just don't think he has the skill level to take out Big Ben. I just don't see him having the answer for this. Hopefully he can stay off on, keep him off the floor, and maybe be able to hand off on some striking. But with Tybura, the only way I see him really winning is if he can get on top of Ben and actually ground and pound him and put him out. Then next I have to talk about the co-main event, which is going to be Edson Barboza versus Makwan Amir Khani. I mean, what can I say about this fight? I'm going to play it kind of safe, and the only reason I'm going to play it kind of safe is this. Edson Barboza just moved down to 145. In his first fight against Dan Ige, I honestly think that Barboza won that fight. And he showed no issue with the weight cut. He showed that he still had the speed. He still had the kicks. He was still devastating, could throw his hands, but will launch those kicks out of nowhere and kill your legs. I just don't see Amir having any of the skills to push the pace on Barboza. I feel like if you look at the competition, Barboza's been fighting at a very high level in the lightweight division. Amir floats around every once in a while, breaks into the top 15. I understand he's sitting in the top 10 and everything, but I don't see Amir having the skill to actually take out Barboza. I feel like Barboza is going to end up TKOing him, and it's going to be a TKO of kicks. If not, Barboza will probably ground and pound him, or it's going to be that kick to the head that's going to put Amir out like a sack of potatoes. For me, I'm going to have to take Barboza in the second round, thinking it's going to be a TKO. And with that puts us at the main event, and Marlon Moraes versus Cody the Sandman Sandhagen. Where do I see this fight going? With Moraes is a very good high-level skill fighter, but I just don't think he's a fighter that can last very well in a 5-round fight. I understand he was a champion of a different organization. I understand he came in and he had a couple of hiccups, but he staying in the top 5 of the Bantamweight division. I don't think he's going to be able to keep up with Cody's speed, his pace and his pressure that he puts on you, throwing continuously. Now, if the same Cody that shows up that fought Aljamain Sterling and he rushes in, he will probably get clipped and get laid out. I do like Cody, but he has to have the game plan to want to take this to the later rounds. Meaning because Marlon does a very hard weight cut, and he drops a lot of weight to get down to the bantamweight division. I don't think he's going to be able to have a gas tank that's going to be able to push it in the third or fourth or fifth round. He's probably going to burn himself out and try to get Cody out of there quickly. And if Cody can end up lasting all the way to the later rounds, I see him probably either TKOing Moraes or submitting Moraes. And I'm going to say that will probably happen in the fourth round. But if the fight ends up ending early, I won't be surprised if Moraes puts out Cody. And that's really what he's going to have to do. He's going to have to basically separate Cody from his consciousness. And we'll see how it goes. Fight's looking good. Fights are looking fun. Stay tuned. Stay paying attention. Always like and subscribe. I am Jason Filthy Jones, bringing you the dirtiest information with the cleanest style. Till next time, guys. Peace.